This is the Marketing Podcast Network.
Welcome to Uncorking a Story, the podcast that introduces you to the rich world of storytellers who share their personal journeys, creative processes, and the stories behind their stories, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Mike Carlin, and I'm thrilled to be part of your writing journey. If you're an aspiring writer, a literary enthusiast, or simply someone who believes in the transformative power of words, you've come to the right place. Every week, we'll pop the cork on the world of successful storytellers and give you a healthy pour of inspiration, insight, and empowerment. My mission is to help writers like you realize your full potential through the transformative and therapeutic power of writing. Whether you're just starting your literary voyage or looking to refine your craft, I'm here to provide you with the knowledge, inspiration, and encouragement you need to embark on your own storytelling adventure. So, are you ready to uncork your story and let your creativity flow? Uncorking a Story is about to begin. Sit back, relax, and let the transformative magic of storytelling whisk you away. Welcome to Uncorking a Story. Weakley was born and reared in Wexford, Ireland. She writes tales of castles, warriors, hell demons, witches, and whatever else comes to her mind. Her latest series is the Sekhet Saga, which includes 3 books and 1 currently out for submissions. Wait a minute, this is out of date because we're here to talk about book number 4.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Uncorking Story, Weakley.
Thank you.
Karen, I've very rarely do I botch an intro, but that's what I just did. I do want to talk about book 4 and the Sekhet Saga, but before we get there, just remind me, where does your story as an author begin?
It begins when I was still living back home in Ireland, and I had started writing another series, a trilogy, and I had started out as a play, and I just kept on going. And I had been away with my girlfriends for a weekend away, and on the way home in the car, I had given my friend Keely what I had written that night. And I was like, read it, tell me what you think. And she was like, it's so good. So I just continued it.
There
Yeah. So that was like 2007. Yeah.
All right. So we're going back some time.
We're going back some time.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what's your fascination with this genre? You know, castles, warriors, hell demons. I very rarely do I get to say the phrase hell demon on a regular basis. So,
Well, Castles and Warriors are actually the first trilogy way back when. The Hell Demons and Witches Coven, everything, that's the Sekhet Saga. So I love paranormal. I love the different realms, and I love all the things that come from that aspect. So that's where that comes from.
yeah. What are some of your influences from that area, from the paranormal area, whether it's movies or books or?
Well, I know that when I was younger, any of the like the horror movies and stuff used to scare the crap out of me, and it kind of came from that in some aspects. But I think it's just all the different folklore, all the different books that I've read over the years kind of drew me more so into it. And I love anything to do with like, well, not so well, yeah, the paranormal, but the different side of it, all the stones, all the ruins, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I like
kind of
all that.
growing up where you grew up. I'm sure you had a lot more of that than you do in Washington State.
Yeah.
You mentioned movies that scared the crap out of you. What were some of those movies that really scared you when you were younger?
Well, I had said before that it was the original Evil Dead scared the crap out of me. And I know everybody is like, oh, it did scare me. I remember going down to the chip shop down around the corner from our house to get like stuff for dinner. And I would not run, I would run down in the middle of the road. I wouldn't walk on the footpath, and I wouldn't walk close to the shores. I would run down the middle of the road. Yeah, that scared me. But hey, so did Jaws, and I still won't swim in the sea. So,
Ooh,
you
you and me both on that one. But I want to go back to Evil Dead because that movie and that trilogy fascinates me because that first one was very much, I think, a horror film. It
Oh
was
my
the original
God.
sort of cabin in the woods, the
Yeah.
hand and the
Uh,
Necronomicon.
yeah.
But then like 2 and 3, like Evil Dead 2 and Army of
Yeah, they
Darkness, they
kind of
became like
sizzled out. It's
they
like the
sizzled out,
epitome of the next one is never as good as the first.
but
Do you know
they're
what I mean?
funny. That's the thing. Like Army of Darkness to me is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. Just his one-liners, Bruce Campbell's one-liners in
I
that movie
know.
are so funny.
It's the original one kind of keeps you and little things that you remember, when your one is down in the cellar and she comes up and stabs your man in the ankle with the pencil or whatever she had. And then she's sitting in the middle of the ground. She's like, "We're gonna get you." I'm like, oh my God. You know? So yeah. But I get it. The ones after that were not great.
So how do you prevent yourself from scaring yourself when you're writing about
I don't prevent myself.
it? That's part of the fun.
It's part of the fun. And I think the darker it gets, the more I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your take on the Twilight movies or books? I'm curious.
Do you know what? I can't say anything bad about it because at the time when they came out, I actually read all four like within like 5 days. You know, I I really enjoyed them because it was very teenage and it was a very easy read and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
um and I enjoyed the movies, but as I'm older, I look at the movies, I'm like, oh. And I had seen a meme and I had like Edward running, I had Blade in the back and I had this is the end and we all want it. I'm like, yes, it's kind of like get him, you know.
That would be wonderful. My daughter, my daughter made me. No, I shouldn't say made me. She encouraged me to watch with her the 4 Twilight films.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, some of them got well. Let's see. The third one was probably the best. But just the first one, I just started laughing when he called her a little spider monkey. I could not. Literally, I'm like, what are we doing here? And then,
Yeah.
oh God, but I got through it. I'm still here to tell the story.
That's it. My thing is like, it was all of a sudden I'm looking at it going, hold on. He spent months sneaking into her room watching her sleep. It's kind of stalkerish. It's like,
I think we have laws against that. And she seems
but
fine with it.
it was a great teenage book at the end of the day. She
Oh,
did
yeah.
a good job and it took off and fair juice to her. But yeah, it's definitely one for if you just want to read something lighthearted.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I realize that I'm not the target audience for it. So I shouldn't bash it too much. But what I was also curious about was learning that the whole 50 Shades series was based on, I mean, it started as Twilight fan fiction.
Oh,
And then oh
really?
yeah, I did see now I'm educating you on facts.
I've never even read them. I've never watched the movies.
You don't need to. I mean, they're not great. I mean,
Yeah.
if you like a third grade reading level, it's fine. But I mean, I shouldn't bash it. She's made more money than I ever will writing. So
That's it.
what can you tell us about Whispers from the Grave, which is book 4 in the Sekhet Saga?
Yeah. Whispers from the Grave it brings like different characters in. Like I was saying before we came on, like the cover is our newest baby niece, Aria, and I used her name and she's the baby in it because she had just been born when I had started writing the book. And I just loved using her picture on the cover because there's something that freaks me out about old vintage pictures with babies in it.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it like a dead picture? Is it like a baby so and then you're going to have some Scottish folklore in it for a change. Usually I hit on the Ireland and everything, but the Gashlig, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. So I love that character. It kind of attaches itself onto baby Arya and everything. But Lilith plays a big part in it. You have Bree who comes into it, and she's a black witch from the fairy world. And it's just a different characters. But then you have Molly and Joe and Victor, the faithfuls, that always, I pull back into it. And yeah. So it has a lot of twists and turns, and I think the end is definitely going to knock people a little bit. I've
Yeah.
had some ARC readers do it, other authors, and um one of them in particular was like, come on. No, you didn't. I'm like, had to be done. But this one definitely sees, again, I pull on some of our friends, like our friend Grant, my husband's one of his best friends. He wanted to be a character so bad. I'm like, you're not going to make it. Let's be honest. It's going to be fabulous, but that's what's always going to happen. So he plays quite a big part. He's like a new police officer, and he tries to get Joe. He loves Joe, which Victor hates because he's, they're partners and everything, detectives and stuff. And yeah, his character's good. I think everyone's going to be pretty interested on how he comes to an end. And it's dark. There's not, and I didn't pull no punches. I'm like, you'll be in it, but can't promise that. But yeah, so he's a really good character. There's Yeah, I think I'm thinking about it now as I'm talking about it. There's like the Russian mafias in it. There's like everything is going on. So yeah, I definitely didn't pull any punches.
Where I am curious, writing this type of stuff, do you ever have people in your life come to you and say, Karen, I think you need some help? Have you ever talked to your doctor about this? Has that ever happened?
No, but I think secretly they probably think it and they just don't want to say it. Maybe.
It's like
I
she seems so
haven't, but
sweet. She seems
sometimes
so
they look
sweet.
at me after reading it and they were like, you know, but
I
that's
can
what you
imagine.
want, though. You want that response. I do anyway. I want people to be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I've had that, and I certainly don't write in this genre. But
yeah.
I've had people like, how did you come up with that? You should talk to a doctor. Like you maybe you need medication, Mike. Like that has been suggested to me at times.
Medication.
Um, this is book 4 in a series. I'm
Yeah.
curious, and it was set to be a 3-book series. What prompted you to keep it going?
Um, I think it's because when I first started and had been talking to Barbara, Barbara, my Barbara, I love her. She never leads me astray, and she's amazing. She's probably like the best editor I could have ever wished for. But she she's she she's wonderful. She just keeps pushing and pushing. She's like, you got this. But I think when I had finished the first book, I had mentally made a decision that I was going to push for 10 in the saga, but that would be me. This one in particular, where you have Sekhet, Hellbound, and Eternity, it kind of branches around the same characters. It kind of flows, and then this one kind of breaks away, and it has some of the same characters, but it's a completely different, avenue. And then, I've already started book 5 is half done, and it's completely different characters. And I wanted to start doing standalones. So I knew that I wanted to, in particular, to have a love interest. So I moved along with that. And then I added more brand new characters where I throw in Molly will always be, and Joe and Victor, of course, that they'll always be. But yeah,
Yeah.
it'll continue until I run out of stuff that I want to write about, I guess.
So it sounds like you're writing in the same universe, right? The same fictional universe, but the
Hmm.
stories you can have one-off stories within that
Oh,
within that
yeah.
universe. Does that keep
Yeah.
it more interesting for you as the writer?
I think for me, in a way, yes. I just want to keep it more interesting for the readers as well. I don't want them to have to say, oh God, I have to read this book, this book, this book to be able to get in on this book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, people can pick up Hellbound, the second one, and still be able to follow the story, but they would be after missing one hell of a story in Sekhet. Do you know what I mean? So, I think they flow, but you could definitely pick one up, but you would definitely miss out on what happened previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people who listen to the show are authors or aspiring
Hmm.
authors, and you mentioned Barbara's name, who's somebody we
Yeah.
both know. I want to talk a little bit about the working and collaborating with an editor and how
Yeah.
important that is to the writing process. So, if why don't you start with how you got to meet Barbara?
Okay. So, whew, it's been years. It's I had approached both Jan Cardis and to because I was looking for an agent, and I had approached Black Hawk, and I waited and waited, and I didn't approach anybody else because I wanted to work with them so badly, and I hadn't heard anything. And a year had passed, and I was like, no, I'm going to wait. And in the meantime, I'm going to continue just to write and concentrate on not being like, oh God, maybe they're definitely not interested. And then one day I got an email from Jan saying that she wanted to work as my agent. And, the reason was health issues, which I'm not getting into because I don't know her personal issues. And I was just over the moon. And then that's how it happened.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
did Blackhawk and Jan come across your radar screen?
My what?
Your radar screen. So how did you find Blackhawk?
Oh, so I personally, am not against men, but I personally wanted to work. Sorry, I personally wanted to work with women because I think I have read a lot of men books, male books, whatever, and they just have a different way of writing when it comes to female characters, how they're depicted, how, I've read so many like love interests and, sex scenes and all that. I'm like, come on, seriously? I'm like, no, I don't know any woman that's gonna say or do that. Maybe there is, but so I just think women, and for my part, me personally, just have a better understanding of that aspect of a woman writing. And like my first trilogy, whoo, there I have walked in to Weeds, and the owner's husband has read that first trilogy. He didn't talk to me for 3 days. He's like, I can't even look at you. I'm like, but did you enjoy it? He's like, yes, but I can't even look at you right now. I'm like, it works though.
I take it was somewhat steamy.
Yes. It
You
was very
mentioned weeds.
adult, and honestly, it was very adult, and but it was adult to the extent that I didn't hold back in that aspect of stuff, because why would I? I want to write about it. I'm good at writing about it. And but in this series, I didn't. You give the illusion, and you give the it's happening, but this, because at the beginning we had talked about doing young adult, and there's certain things you can and can't do clearly. And then I was thinking to myself, I was like, there are really young people having babies. They know all about this. But okay. And so because eventually, Barbara came to me and she said, it's just not in you to keep it pulled back, and I think young adult is just not for you. And I'm like, I agree. I just So that's how that happened. We just
Yeah.
moved forward.
And just getting back to the kind of collaborating with an editor,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that editors are, they've got the hard job. They have to, tell you what to do. But I think the best editors, and Barbara is absolutely one of the best
Oh
editors.
my God. Yeah.
Really just guide you. They almost
Yeah.
collaborate with you,
Yeah.
and they're like that external, third person. They don't have anything necessarily invested in the story like the author does, but they also know what works, where there's holes,
Yeah.
and what you should do about it.
Yeah. It's the best thing about having an editor like Barbara is that she can see the end result that you're looking for. And she is just as into the story as you are. So, yes, she comes back and there's like red through, delete, delete. I'm like, okay. But, I've had some of the things come back and she's like, it's bordering on porn. I'm like, but it's not. She's like, no. And I'm like, okay. But so yes, you need an editor that's going to work with you and who just loves the story as much as you do and who wants it to succeed in the genre and stuff that you've chosen to do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
with anybody out there who is thinking about going the indie route, where you're independently publishing, my best words of advice, I'm curious as to what you would say here, is find an external editor, hire them,
Yeah.
because you can't trust that even if you've got all the grammar and punctuation and all that stuff right, editing is so much more than just proofreading.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like there's times that, you write it, you send it, you're like, perfect. Surely nothing is going missing. And then, she comes back and she's like, I've moved these three paragraphs into two chapters forward. I've moved this back to here because they know what flows. So you don't, like she always says to me, this part doesn't work there because it stops the flow. Whereas when you're writing it, you don't see, you know, you're writing one thing and you think adding something from another character, you think, oh yeah, it adds to it. When clearly one from the perspective of someone who knows their job so well, they know what when they read it from an outside source that's not you, they see it as the reader's going to read it. So yeah, absolutely. An outside editor is a must.
Yeah. One of the greatest gifts Barbara gave me, is telling me how many times I use a certain word in a manuscript. She's like,
She's like,
"What?"
you used this 59 times.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But
I'm like, oh God.
they do,
Yeah.
they do bring that stuff to life, and then you're more conscious about it as you're
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah.
And even stuff, I've written 8 books, and she's helped me with number 9.
Yeah.
And things that mistakes that I'd been making throughout those previous 8, I was unaware of. And
Yeah.
she as an editor taught me so much,
Yeah.
and I am for.
I think that when I think back on the first books that I ever released, I think about it now and I semi cringe a little bit because I've learned so much over the years working with her, and it's insane what you can look back and kind of go, oh, I've definitely grown as a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. I think that's what the best editors do. They help us
Yeah.
grow as a writer, and they also help us see like what's going to work in the market. That
Oh, for
it's the
sure.
business side
Yeah.
of things that we sometimes lose sight of.
Yeah. And then you don't even think about like you've written it, you're like, oh, I want to release during this time. And you don't think about the change in season. You don't think about all this other stuff. And then she's like, no, actually, that's not going to work. Then we need to wait until the season breaks when these books are really popular. Then this book is going to be popular. And then the season will break. And then this book is when it's going to work. You don't think about it. So, there's so much more than being an editor than just reading, correcting, suggestion, all that. They think about everything,
Yeah.
which is massive.
Well, the best ones do.
Oh, yeah.
The best ones do. I have to ask, what is the story behind the psychedelic Albert Einstein I'm looking at over your over your shoulder.
Do you like it?
I do.
I yeah. My husband, he loves everything to do with, all that kind of stuff. And he's a nerd. We're not going to shh. And I seen it and I was like, oh my God, he's gonna love it. We're in his studio at the minute. So that's why there's like musical equipment everywhere. But yeah, that's where it came from. I seen it. I was like, he's gonna die. Yeah.
You say nerd like it's a bad thing, Karen.
No, he's so intelligent. He's ridiculously intelligent. He just got his master's and he's very smart. But it's when I seen it, I was like, yeah. He goes off on tangents talking about Einstein, talking about Henry Thoreau, talking about everything like that. I look at him, I smile, and I switch off. I get it, but there's it's so over my head for the most part. I'm like, it's not really but yeah, that's where it came from.
Well, he's doing that. But you're talking about fairies and hellhounds and
Yeah, I know.
You each have your own things, right?
We each have our own thing. That's it.
We were talking before we were recording about where you like to write. Can you tell us?
Yeah,
like to write?
I like to write in the coffee shop just around the corner, Weeds. I've written all of the Sekhet Saga to date at Weeds Cafe, and I always have my book launches and book signings there. They're just like my other little addition to my family, and so yeah, I have my own table by the window. I like to sit with my back to the window, looking this way, and if somebody's sitting at my table, I will go home. So there has been times that Terry has asked people to move seats, and I went in about 3 weeks ago and they knew that I was coming back. I had to drop the child to school and I came back and they had like a little reserve for KK on my table. It was cute. So yeah, it's
Very
my
cool.
comfort space.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all need places that are comfortable for writing and for the creative juices or the messages from the universe to come through to us. So it sounds like
That's it.
Is a coffee shop, which I have to say it's a little cliched, writing in a coffee shop. But
hey, I've written that coffee shop into the Sekhet Saga. Well, I've written the girls that work there into it. Oh yeah.
Did they?
Everybody's game. Nobody is safe. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, tell us, when will Whispers of the Grave be out for purchase?
December 2nd. It's getting released.
December 2nd and released everywhere? Yep.
It'll be, you're going to be able to find it. So I'm super excited. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And do you have an event coming up that you'd like to talk about?
I do. I'm going to do a book launch and book signing about a week following the release at Weeds Cafe here in Kashmir.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool. Kashmir. And that's in Washington State, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It's over the mountains. We're not anywhere near Seattle. I know everybody thinks, to think Washington State. They're like, oh, Seattle. No, we're about 2.5 hours past 2 mountain passes away.
It's not lost on me that Twilight took place in Washington State, did it not?
Yeah, it took. Where did it take place? It did. I can't remember where it took place.
Somewhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it took. Yeah, we had gone to meet Richard Rawlings from Gas Monkey Garage at God, I can't even remember where we went to see him. It's anyway, we had to pass where Twist was filmed, and I had said, oh, we should stop and get a picture. I was completely like nerding out. And my husband was like, you don't want to go there. It just rains all the time. Literally, we're not going. And that was it. So, but now years later, I'm like, God, I can't believe I was like, please, I want to go. But yeah.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
Karen, where can people learn more about you? Do you have a website or social
I
media?
do. It's just kkweekly.com. Yeah, everything about I'm a cliche. I'm an open book, as they say. Yeah, that was corny, but it's true. I have my blog attached to it. I have all just everything about me is there. Yeah.
All right. I'll be sure to put that in the show notes and any social media that you
Yeah.
have there. So if people want to follow you or find out more information about you, they can easily do so right from the show notes. So Karen, I'll say
Oh yeah. Normal Facebook, X, Instagram, as they go on and on and on.
on and on. Well,
Yeah.
Karen, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and letting me uncork yours.
Thanks for listening to Uncorking a Story. If you'd like more information about today's guest or to find out more about Mike, go to uncorkingastory.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in every week to hear Mike Carlin uncork a new story.